My ships can beat up your ships!
Oh yeah? You in what navy, buddy?
Let's talk about
Bumper cars.
let's talk about you and me. Let's talk
This is fun.
Box bites.
You know, as much as I enjoy sending a dinghy or canoe of OTP characters out to surf the waves of the web every now and then, the truth is that you need to be very cautious with how you handle your ships online. One bow or stern inside the wrong maritime meridian and you can end up with a full-blown naval battle on your hands, as both sides go to war over how objectively right or wrong your pairing of choices. This single scene proves I'm right. The creators intended for this to happen. These two characters are standing next to each other, so they're practically dating. Blah, blah, blah. You just wanted to draw some nice art of two people holding hands and suddenly you're the bad guy. Such is shipping discourse on the internet. Heck, sometimes the creators themselves can fall victim to needless shipping or shipping drama, appeasing watchers with hugs and kisses while derailing vital plot points, and presenting interesting potential-filled pairings only to give them minimal time to cook due to everything else they already had on the back burner. This isn't a full-scale pandemic, obviously. There are artists that handle romance with the time and balance it deserves, and usually the amount of sane shippers online are more abundant than the crazies. Heck, you're listening to one right now. But the takeaway here is that shipping is a very precarious practice, and whether you're the cook or the customer, you're gonna be skating down a shippery slope no matter what. But what if there was a pairing in your favorite show that was destined to fail by design? Not an intentional couple that was mishandled, but just a joke pairing between two main characters that have as much chemistry as gym class, with touching scenes and moments that result in nothing but puking and dry heaving. And all of this made for one of the funniest episodes the show's network has ever produced. Well, today on the day of Valentine's, we're gonna take a break from serious love stories and indulge in some goofy romantic subversions with the Wander Over Yonder episode, The Date. With how polarizing romance can be nowadays, I thought it would be fun to show you how the shipping equivalent of Murphy's Law would unfold. And whether you're getting down or feeling down today, hopefully this is something that we can all laugh at together. Plus, it's been over 10 years and people still rarely talk about this show, so you know what, sweet cheeks? That's gotta change. So let's set sail and see what we got here. We open on a heart-shaped planet that romantic frolickers flock to and bad guys use as fitting set pieces for their signature songs. And before we continue, I just really want to praise this show's literal world building for a second. The lore and setting of this show somehow managed to be both extremely deep and extremely shallow at the same time. They sprinkle around interesting tidbits about the cast's obscure origins, while also just saying screw it on occasion and having fun with a wacky or simple setting that sets up good jokes and character writing. Like, yeah, there's the possibility that Wander is an immortal god born from the fires of a white-hot star who's had his black and white morality challenged by seeing villains at their most vulnerable and eventually turning over a new leaf. But, you wanna make a mall planet? Like, the planet of malls? Yeah, let's... yeah, do that. Many of the planets on this show feel like those one-off settings you'd see in classic Looney Tunes or Merry Melody shorts, where they just act as vehicles to let characters be funny or be themselves. And yet when Wander does try to tell a more serious story, it's able to keep me invested even with all the goofiness surrounding the series. Heck, sometimes they'll even recontextualize these supposed one-off settings into something more sinister or serious later down the line. Like using this planet to visualize Hader's heartbreak and emphasize the sheer power of Lord Dominator in her iconic number next season. You can say that other Disney shows handle the silly serious balance well too, but while those shows tend to feel like dramatic stories at their core with a quirky edge, Wander genuinely feels like a perfect half-and-half mashup of old-school cartoon sensibilities and modern animated storytelling that somehow blend together into a tasty, frothy shake, and I appreciate it more and more the longer I consume it. Anyway, we cut to Wander and Sylvia at Chez Schmancy restaurant as they spy on Lord Hader, who apparently got stood up by the princess of this planet. And while Sylvia claims it's not the end of the world, it apparently is, since Hader plans to blow the whole place to pieces to soothe his broken heart. Considering Hader's main motive is to conquer planets in an attempt to up his cool factor, the fact that he wants to blow this one up already sets the episode's stakes higher than usual. Wander can chase Skeletor off a conquered planet, but he can't exactly glue the pieces of a shattered world back together. Also, I hate to keep pausing to bring up little observations, but look at these waiter designs. They're upturned noses with the eyes in the nostril holes, representing how snooty fancy folk always turn their noses up at everyone. Every time I look at Craig McCracken's resume, it feels like the evolution of imagination. Going from a few unique designs for antagonists in Powerpuff Girls, to a full house of creative creatures in Foster's Home, to a whole galaxy of crazy creations with this show. And they rarely draw attention to them. They just litter multiple shots and environments with these awesome designs to add colorful depth to the galaxy and give you something to appreciate on repeated viewings. It shows that there was effort and creativity even in the most minute aspects of the show, including the incidentals, and I love that. So with Hater being as attractive as a root canal and twice as obnoxious, they figure that the only way to get him a date is to arrange one. So they just dress Sylvia in a tablecloth and literal mop top to sell her as a hopeless dame. Honestly, considering how much of a rough time the staff were already getting from Hater's treatment, I'd hate to be the custodian that has to mop up floors with just a wooden handle. And then, like a bolt of lightning, we get the thing that makes this episode so iconic: Hater's behavior. This guy is basically every obnoxious trait you could find in a potential partner. The loser who thinks he's hot stuff, the virgin in Chad's clothing. So self-absorbed he's basically a skeletal singularity, and it makes for some of the funniest lines you probably never heard.
Heaven must be missing an angel, because here I am.
I mean, look at this dude, spraying every orifice with deodorant trying to mask the musk of desperation, and... dude, with all due respect, there's nothing down there a woman would want. Anatomically, I mean.
You can even A-spray your privates.
Well, you can't tell by the way I use my welcome devoid of riz. No woman wants. They get to talking, or more like Hater gets to talking. Sylvia comes up with the best impromptu name ever.
I don't know. Linguine? On breadstick?
And Wander gets kicked away from the situation only to pose as the unhappy couple's waiter / carny / whatever else they need for the evening. Fun fact, these various little disguises Wander takes on were actually supposed to be part of a cut subplot, where he monitors Sylvia and Hater from a distance while having various things happen to him, like accidentally becoming the best waiter at the restaurant and helping this alien lip girl with her self-esteem issues. In the end, it was cut down to Wander just helping the date go off without a hitch, but it is funny to imagine what might have been. Get yourself a man that looks at you the way Wander looks at the world, and you will be set for life. The pair start to have their food, in a shot with the skull ship just overhead so you're always reminded of the stakes. Nice. And just listen. Okay, not only is this scene hilarious on its own, but really think about this. You spend years trying to perfect your voice so you can lend it to various characters. Bring moving pictures to life with your performances. And one day they stick you in front of a microphone and tell you to just go like they could have easily had Keith Ferguson record normal lines and sped it up with editing, but no, they literally just had him go into a mic for a solid minute, and it honestly makes the joke even funnier when you really think about it. Also, I like how even though this is all gibberish, Keith still manages to inflect with his voice so you know how he's feeling in every moment.
There is a pea touching my potato.
Don't worry, I'll just bring you this plate with even more peas clearly touching your potatoes where there were basically none before. I live to please.
But if Sylvia thought dinner was a nightmare, well, the night is still young unfortunately, so cue the musical montage where Hater shows how attractive he really is. Look at them together. It's like oil and water. Sometimes literally. And while we've got a minute, I've also got to give props to Wander's highly underrated soundtrack. While they're not chained to the idea of a song per episode like, say, Ghost and Molly McGee was, when they bust out a track, it's almost always a banger. The majority of the songs are performed by the Two-Man Gentleman Band, a duo who specialize in pre-war American jazz and Western swing music. Heck, one half of the duo, Andy Bean, was actually the lead composer for the show while it was still on, and he gets a not-so-subtle shout-out in this episode for the montage song, A Night to Remember, crediting him as Danny Spleen and the Spleensmen. While he was writing the song, his only instruction was to make it sound Hall & Oatesy, which explains why it sounds similar to Hall & Oates' classic song, You Make My Dreams Come True.
Girl, you gonna love me too. If you don't love me, yeah. You make my dreams come true.
As a veteran listener of Golden Oldie songs, I not only love this kind of music, but really respect how the majority of the show's OST came from just two guys who have a storied history in classic music, and oftentimes composed and created tracks just by improvising on their favorite instruments. Honestly, the gentlemen probably deserve their own video, but I just gotta give them props for giving this show such a unique sound. And speaking of unique sounds...
Girl, you don't love me soon. If you don't
You know, guys, if you're gonna screw around with the censors this much, you could at least buy them dinner first. Even Hater had the courtesy to do that. Anyway, Hater slides into first base, he fumbles the ball, throws himself a pity party, and Sylvia begrudgingly, and I mean very begrudgingly, gives him a peck on the top of the cloak. And this is apparently enough for Hater to want to spend his whole life with her. He didn't even have the courtesy to splurge on a proper stone. It looks like he got that thing out of a gumball machine, my dude. She says yes because, you know, Hater threatens to blow up the whole galaxy if she doesn't. And what the heck is she wearing? Looks like something the Pope would don for RuPaul's Drag Race. At least we get Sylvia's best line of the episode here.
It's just dinner and a carnival and a lifetime of misery. It's just dinner and a carnival and a lifetime of misery.
And immediately after, we get Peeper's best line in the episode.
To marry this stunning vision of loveliness to some broad he met at a restaurant.
I don't know, just hearing Tom Kenny say some broad makes me laugh internally like a hyena.
Hey, that's some broad at a restaurant.
But before the marriage is officiated, who comes to save the day but... Look, I already made a drag show joke, we can't have two in the same review. Yeah, if you didn't believe me when I said that Wander was an homage to the classic cartoon trickster archetype, here he is dressing up like a Southern belle to trick the antagonist. And you gotta appreciate that Wander was willing to short-sightedly risk his own happiness and marital status just to save Sylvia from the same fate. Even if he did call her a cheap horse.
But now that I see you in the arms of this cheap horse...
But this double dosage of damsel pining is enough for Hater to get his mojo back. For all of 10 seconds before Peepers drops the obvious truth that Hater was blind to. The fact that he was basically just dating his arch enemies in dresses. Don't worry, Hater, you'll get a whole romance arc which leads to nothing next season, so you're not out of the pointless shipping game just yet. And that was the date. I hope I was able to make my case that this thing is absolutely hysterical. Like a lot of Wander episodes, it takes an often cliched premise of a character dating someone who turns out to be less than a gentleman, but elevates it to levels of insanity that only this show can muster. They managed to make Hater absolutely insufferable in the most hilarious of ways, and it's completely crystal clear that this pairing is doomed 10 times over no matter what way you slice it. No last minute redemption, no feeling of, well, he's a bit of a mess, but he's still got his attractive qualities. Nope, just a complete and total disaster from beginning to end. And it isn't until season 2 that Hater gets any kind of competency when it comes to picking up women. I think this is one of the funniest episodes of the first season and possibly one of the funniest episodes of the entire series, besides the obvious. I know Valentine's Day and romance in general can come with their ups and downs, and I don't expect everyone to be equally happy today, but at the risk of sounding like Wander, even in our most tragic times where nothing seems to work out, we can hopefully all still find something to laugh about. With all that being said though, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on this goofy romantic romp? And would you like to see me cover more Wander Over Yonder episodes in detail like this? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day / Singles Awareness Day, and I hope to see you all real soon.